You know,
Exactly.
and then through a lot of trial and error and countless prototypes, you know, this is what happened. And then, you know, comparing it to the original, it's like, I would say 99.9 something percent accurate. I mean, me having seen the original up close and you know, having contributed to the original with some of the hardware, and knowing Frog, and then also, you know, keeping a record of photographs of the guitar. Yeah, this is about as close as that's ever going to get. It's a design that cannot be done without this much detail. I mean, others have made replicas or renditions of it, but because they didn't want to put the time into it, the detail is lost. And if you've ever seen any of those, it doesn't even come close to the original. So yeah, there was a lot of time put into this.
Yeah, there's so many things, you know, that I don't think anybody that's not seen this guitar within like 5 inches of the original just doesn't understand. You know, it's not just a black and white guitar with bone shapes. It's got very intricate details. It's got small vein work with detailed brushes. It's got, you know, speckles in the paint and the bones. It's got, you know, so many very detailed and unique attributes to it. It's really hard to do that without going ridiculous on it. So
the thing that I was always curious about was, you know, getting into John Garcia's head as to why this design. You know,
exactly.
I mean, because there's a lot of different ways you could approach a three-dimensional carved guitar design, which, you know, at the time of 1985, you know, wasn't done. You know, nobody was really doing it. Some people were doing like shaped guitars, but nobody really got this creative about it. And it was just fortunate that it was a high-profile guitar player that played it. You know, but I mean, getting into the mind of John Garcia, I mean, I'm just kind of curious how and why. You know, we'll never know until we actually ask him. But even if we asked him, he'd go round and around and around, and then at some point it's going to turn into beer. Because that's Frog. You know, I mean, I'm proud of him because he's now 2 years sober.
Oh, really?
When it comes to talking to Frog, or John Garcia, Frog as we know him, when it comes to talking with Frog about this guitar, you can never really get a straight answer out of it, you know. And I think a lot of it is because it harbors a lot of memory for him to divulge that stuff, and you know, a lot of it's personal to him, and I respect that. But still, one day we'll get it out of him.
Now, Johnny brought to me a guitar that he said that he had carved back in that day, and that guitar, it had kind of a scooped out. The spine was almost going inside
this design,
the guitar.
Right?
It was similar to that design, the spine segment was like scooped like in, kind of concave into the guitar. And he said that
he never completed it.
Right.
You know.
There was also a Red Bones guitar.
Yeah, that was my buddy. The Red Bones. I mean, when it comes down to talking about the original Bones guitar, the one that George was commonly seen with, I mean, the iconic Bones guitar that we're talking about, that was actually the second carving of that guitar. The first carving of that guitar was like a test. It looked kind of like that. You know, it was a smaller body, right? It looked kind of like this. It was a smaller body, and it was the actual first one. And then after coming up with the idea for the placement of the skull and the finger bones, then the second one was made, and that was the one that George actually played. And then that first carving of it just sat, right? It just kind of sat. And when I looked at it, I was like, "Hey, are you ever gonna do anything with this?" And he was like, "I don't know," like that. And I go, "Well, yeah, there's a buddy of mine." And he's like, "You want to make some money?" I mean, you have to understand, I was like a 20-something-year-old kid, no job, lived down the street, and and like this guy is like corrupting my mind with beer and rock and roll and lazy afternoons, because as an employee in the entertainment business, you don't work every day, and that's what Frog was at the time. He was a Hollywood makeup artist. He had completed a handful of films that spring, and he was home. And so everything was about drinking beer in the afternoon and coming up with money that his wife wasn't going to find out was missing, so that we can go buy that beer, right? And so from what I remember, I saw that Bones body sitting on a table in the garage, and I picked it up. I was like, "You can do anything with this?" He's like, "Well, I could, but And he said that it's not that great. And I go, "Why?" He's like, "Well, because look, this is small. This isn't right." I go, "Yeah, but you could still complete it. I got this buddy who'll buy it from me, right?" And so he painted the features of it red, and we called it the Blood Bones. And then again, I contributed parts to that guitar that I shouldn't have. Like I dismantled one of my Kramer Berettas, put another Floyd on it. So now at that point, I had 2 Kramer Berettas with no hardware on.
So that's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
So you supplied hardware for the original Bones guitar. So the Floyd that was, or all the parts that were put on that guitar originally were stuff that was out of your stash off of your guitar.
Yeah. And anyway, the Blood Bones got completed, and it had a Charvel neck on it, and we cut the ball end of the Strat headstock, cut the ball off of it, so it looked like one of those older Kramer headstocks, the beak headstock. But that was a good neck. That's a damn shame. That was a damn shame. That was a good neck. It was like 1 3/4 inch wide, flat radius, real thin, and the thing played like butter. Had huge frets on it. That was a big mistake. Big mistake. Anyway, a buddy of mine flew out from Indianapolis and bought it from Frog for $1,800. That's all. Because that was a lot of money back then. That was summer of '88. And that guy sold it to a coin collector who now keeps it in a vault.
Really?
Yeah, in Indianapolis. And before he locked it up, he let me take like 3 or 4 photos of it. Blood Bones. And then George came out and did a clinic, and the guy brought it out of the vault for George to sign. And then on the back, George signed it. Blood Bones. And I have my guitar back now. George Lynch. And that was '98. Like August of '98. But Blood Bones resides in Indianapolis.
In a vault.
Yep, and that was actually the first carving of this design. And then the second one was the one that George played, that you saw. Then the third one was carved out of a single piece of wood. And that was done to combat the cracking problem that happened to that original one that George was playing. That's why they did it out of a single piece of wood. And because Frog was dealing with blank slate, and like it was a plank of wood, and it was just blank, right? And then they had put the humbucker route and the tremolo route already in it. But now he just had to freehand the thing. And that's what he did. That's why when you look at photos of that guitar, if Frog ever brings it out to show it to you, you'll notice that it's like larger and more exaggerated, and like the Strat shape really isn't there. Like when you turn and look at it from the back, you don't see the obvious Strat shape. There's something not right about it. But that was the third one, and
yeah, we actually had to go through a lot of work to make that look like it had a Strat guitar in it when we did that. So, yeah.
But Frog freehanded that one. But that's the actual story of the 3 original Bones guitars.
So are those the only 3 that John ever did?
Those are the only 3 that saw the light of day.
Yeah.
There was one that was done that Frog did, in which it was like negative. Have you ever seen that? It was like a negative. All the bones were black and all the features in the middle were white.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing that.
And that's the only one that he actually sold.
But
to
I will tell you this.
somebody outside of the family.
Johnny has one of those,
Mhm.
and he said he was going to finish it. And one of these days,
Oh, that's right.
one of these days,
Yeah.
he may actually have a carved one that looks like the original one because he's got a good base to start with.
Well, he actually brought up a like 3/4 scale body, bones body.
It's a mini bones. That's right.
Yeah, and then he also had a Freddy Krueger, like bones. style
That's right. Yeah.
Freddy Krueger.
I remember when originally he was commissioned to do that, and it was before I moved back to the Midwest that I saw the beginning of the Freddy Krueger guitar. I mean, it's the same motif, right?
Yeah, I remember.
But it's Freddy in the hat, you know. And he had the body blank with the pickup hole already routed, the tremolo route already routed, but he had just started the Freddy face. You know, I mean, incidentally, the importance and the tie-in of Frog and Freddy Krueger and Dokken, Dream Warriors theme